Welcome back to the deep dive. Our mission today is, well, it's pretty urgent and definitely highly structured. We are going to walk you step by step through a really comprehensive new report mapping out the geopolitics of artificial intelligence. Think of us as your instructors for this deep dive, okay? We'll move sequentially through the documents, 10 critical chapters.
Yeah, the idea is to extract and, analyze the most essential insights. We want to understand how AI is fundamentally rearranging global power structure security mechanisms.
And the very fabric of society.
Right, exactly. And it's necessary because AI is, well, it's rapidly proving to be the most revolutionary technology of our time. If you look at history,
Yeah.
new foundational technologies, steam, electricity, computing, they always determine geopolitical power. They elevate the countries that can develop and, crucially, implement them quickly.
And this time, the stakes feel higher somehow.
Arguably, yes.
Much higher. The report we've synthesized, it lays out the core conflict almost immediately. Because AI relies on just immense computational power and access to these colossal data sets.
Unbelievably large data sets.
The dominance of just a few hands in the AI space, we're mostly talking the US and China here, it seems guaranteed to exacerbate structural inequality globally. It introduces new, more aggressive forms of stratification between nations.
And that concentration of power, it's already undeniable.
Right.
The sources we looked at highlight what they actually call a genuine threat of a digital oligopoly.
A digital oligopoly.
Yeah, think about this. The leading digital tech companies are often more financially and technologically powerful than many medium-sized nation-states. It's staggering.
Right.
They control the vast, constantly growing databases that are, the indispensable foundation for all effective machine learning algorithms.
Yeah.
You can't do serious AI without them.
So power concentrates not just in capital cities anymore, but in corporate headquarters, which means
it concentrates power into an oligopoly of just a few AI leaders. And these are the players capable of the colossal, trillion-dollar investments required to continually increase the power of their large language models, their LLMs, and their whole computational infrastructure. Precisely. And this shift is creating new, inherently unbalanced international hierarchies. The report notes something interesting here.
What's that?
That this impact isn't tied to a specific political crisis or, a sequence of limited events. Instead, it's a non-crisis long-term disruption. It's like a slow burn evolution.
Blurring the lines.
Exactly. Blurring the boundaries between peace and war, characterized by this quiet form of digital takeover that political leaders are only now really starting to integrate into their strategic thinking.
And that latency, that delay, that's the danger, isn't it?
It is.
If we looked at the immediate destabilizing effects, what the document calls the anthropogenic threats, meaning, driven by human action, what are the key dangers we face right now?
Well, the report lists several. There's the rapid militarization of AI, obviously, the development of new weapon systems that are faster, more lethal, and potentially unpredictable.
Right.
A massive surge in AI-enhanced cyber threats, we see that daily, and large-scale automated disinformation campaigns aimed at destabilizing rivals.
Things that are happening now.
Absolutely. These are current active threats.
But our sources stress that we need to look further out, too. We can't afford to ignore the long-term, potentially existential risk. In the medium term, they say. The possibility of AI achieving subjectivity or genuine agency, what we sometimes call artificial general intelligence, or AGI.
Right. That's the big one.
This possibility, even though it's uncertain, the report argues it requires preemptive planning today because the authors view it as concerning the fate of humanity itself. It's that serious.
It is vital to maintain perspective, though. I mean, while the risks are immense, AI also holds tremendous potential for geopolitical stability. That's important to remember.
Okay, how so?
It can be used for early conflict prevention, for instance, by modeling potential flashpoints before they erupt. It can facilitate cross-cultural communication through really advanced translation.
Right.
It can improve decision-making efficiency in global governance, help manage climate change efforts, make breakthroughs in healthcare. The potential is huge.
So the key is balance.
The key, as the report emphasizes, is responsible development, clear global rules, and, crucially, robust international cooperation. We need that to prevent what would be an extremely dangerous and, frankly, uncontrollable AI arms race.
Okay, so that sets the stage. Let's begin our structured analysis then. Chapter 1 starts with the foundation, Industry 4.0.
Yeah, a concept first articulated by Klaus Schwab. Initially, it focused on cyber-physical systems, but he highlighted the Internet of Things, IoT, and AI as the essential components ensuring the state of hyperconnectivity.
Hyperconnectivity, and that concept immediately brought up a fundamental challenge to the nation state, didn't it? The sovereignty question.
It did. Schwab's original thesis suggested that for countries to participate and, thrive in this global digital economy, they must, to some degree, sacrifice state sovereignty.
That's a big ask.
It is. The argument is simple, though. Countries that try to create rigid barriers against these globally integrated technologies, they risk isolating themselves. They risk lagging dangerously behind global norms.
And this context is directly reflected in the strategic goals of competing powers, right?
Yeah.
We see China's clear national mandate to become the technological leader by 2030.
Absolutely. They're aiming to conquer new niches in revolutionary digital AI projects, everything from large language models and metaverses to digital twins, 5G networks, even neurointerfaces. It's a total spectrum approach.
And the metaverse shift. The report flags this as particularly interesting territory.
Yeah, here's where it gets really interesting in terms of defining this new space.
Hmm.
Remember the 2021 rebrand of Facebook to Meta?
Vaguely, yeah.
Yeah.
Big announcement.
It wasn't just corporate theater. It signaled the creation of alternative digital worlds where virtuality is deeply interwoven with physical reality. It's not just separate anymore.
And critically, these virtual environments, they aren't just escapism like video games used to be. They offer real-world functions.
Exactly. Work, education, the sources note you can get real diplomas from university programs entirely within the metaverse.
Wow.
You have cryptocurrency finance, virtual real estate selling for millions, and even real political activity. The government of Barbados, for example, actually purchased a virtual plot in Decentraland for a digital embassy.
A digital embassy.
Yeah.
So sovereignty itself is moving into the cloud.
In a way, yes, and the economic stakes are just colossal. Analysts project the metaverse market will reach something like $13 trillion by 2030.
13 trillion.
Yep, serving potentially 5 billion users. This signals a fierce competitive struggle, and countries that feel excluded, they're worried.
Understandably.
The report specifically notes that nations like Russia are racing to catch up precisely to avoid becoming, quote, a virtual colony of powerful American digital transnational corporations, or TNCs.
That fear of control, it extends to the financial layer too, doesn't it? The spread of digital currencies, especially crypto.
Huge sovereignty concern. Yes, the anonymity facilitates illicit finance, terrorism funding, all that. But even legal digital payments often bypass state control entirely.
So states are losing visibility.
Right. That limited capacity of individual states to ensure transparency points toward a desperate and, so far, pretty unsuccessful need for comprehensive international regulation. Everyone knows it's needed, but getting there, that's hard.
Moving from finance to the interface. VR and AR, virtual and augmented reality.
Yeah. While the devices might seem bulky now, the speed of development suggests ergonomic, lightweight versions will likely replace smartphones in the coming years.
Really? Replace smartphones.
That's a projection. Mass adoption of VRR signals a major step toward, well, transhumanism, maybe. Reducing face-to-face interaction, moving society into a borderless world defined by virtual impressions and emotions.
And the concept of digital twins takes this dependence and national risk even further, the report argues.
It does. This technology links a physical asset, could be an engine, a car, a factory, even an entire city, to its digital copy.
For real-time optimization.
Exactly. Real-time optimization and monitoring. The market growth is explosive, projected to soar from maybe $3.2 billion in 2020 to $184.5 billion by 2030. The U.S., for instance, has a national program creating computer copies of major cities.
Okay, but here's the catch, right? We need to pause on the significance of this, like the report says.
Absolutely. For any nation relying on this infrastructure, they face a severe triple dependence on leading U.S. corporations.
Triple dependence.
Dependence, one, on the producers of the proprietary software systems. Dependence, two, on the suppliers of the specialized hardware solutions needed to run it. And dependence, three, critically, on the providers of the cybersecurity solutions to protect it all.
Now the major developers.
Microsoft, IBM, Intel, NVIDIA, they're overwhelmingly American.
So if your city's power grid or your factory's optimization or critical infrastructure runs on digital twins, essentially three distinct American corporate entities hold the operational keys to your entire system.
Pretty much. That isn't just a commercial risk, that's total systemic vulnerability. It goes way beyond traditional geopolitical leverage.
And this systemic vulnerability is compounded by communication systems moving beyond state control. You mentioned Elon Musk's Starlink.
Starlink is expanding its satellite network for global internet distribution. Such independent communication channels become effectively unreachable by state regulatory or security agencies.
So if a state wants to monitor or regulate its domestic digital networks,
These platforms are becoming increasingly impossible to control. They operate outside the traditional territorial boundaries.
and linking all this together is the Internet of Things, the IoT, driven by 5G proliferation.
Yeah. IoT is used extensively in commerce, sure, but in the political sphere, it's a powerful tool for profiling the population and influencing public opinion on a massive scale.
It's not new, is it?
No, the U.S. National Intelligence Council cited IoT way back in 2008 as one of 6 disruptive technologies that would elevate national information security risks globally. They saw it coming.
All of this convergence brings us directly to the global standards debate.
Yeah.
Data transfer seems to be the flashpoint.
Definitely. The EU is strict on data privacy, GDPR, and all that. Key sovereign states, Russia, India, China, they all require data localization, meaning data about their citizens must stay within their borders.
But the U.S.
Meanwhile, the U.S. intelligence community makes, well, basically no global concessions on data collection, allowing American companies to operate with very wide latitude.
This disparity, though, it offers non-Western states a critical geopolitical opportunity, the report suggests.
It does. The suggestion is forming an alliance, potentially using mechanisms like BRICS, or maybe engaging wary EU partners with states seeking data localization and equitable revenue sharing from these global tech platforms.
And what would this alliance do?
Such a coalition could work on developing alternative standards, maybe push for joint R&D, create international AI audit structures that kind of circumvent Western dominance, build a different path.
The AI standards debate itself is split fundamentally, isn't it? West versus China.
Absolutely. The West relies heavily on the private sector to develop norms, sort of bottom up. China centers the state in norm setting top down.
So universal standards seem.
Unlikely, very unlikely, given the rising geopolitical opposition. The report suggests that standards will likely spread through market dominance and just de facto adoption of proprietary systems. Whoever builds the best mousetrap or the most dominant one sets the standard.
What's fascinating here, and kind of contradictory, is how geopolitics immediately overrides trade principles.
How so?
While Western countries officially advocate for industry-specific open AI standards that support international trade, WTO rules, all that.
Right, the rhetoric is openness.
Yet, the actions taken sanctions against Russia's tech sector, efforts to contain China's technological rise, reveal that geopolitics clearly overrides that stated goal of universal, open standards.
True, actions speak louder than words.
This policy, in effect, pushes non-Western states toward accelerated technological independence, doesn't it? Even if it means sacrificing short-term economic gains by decoupling.
It forces their hand, essentially. If you can't rely on Western tech, you have to build your own, even if it's harder and slower initially.
Okay, so that's Industry 4.0. Now, connecting this technical foundation to the bigger picture, the report argues AI's influence goes way beyond infrastructure and trade. It fundamentally alters human concepts like faith, identity.
Absolutely, and the very structure of political power. The sheer scope of AI's intrusion into human life presents traditional religions with, frankly, an unprecedented challenge.
How does it challenge religion?
Well, think about it. An AI system having instant access to the wealth of all canonical texts, the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, everything, plus in-depth, real-time individual profiling data. It will arguably be capable of offering words of advice, comfort, personalized spiritual guidance, perhaps better than many traditional religious figures.
That's provocative.
The sources raise the risk of new digital native religions emerging that actually start to deify artificial intelligence. This could lead to a gradual departure from traditional moral norms and the formation of new tech-centric values.
And we see a philosophical shift running parallel to this, right? The concept of transhumanism.
Yes, this philosophy, largely developed in the West, proposes abandoning the current human condition in favor of creating a cybernetic post-humanity. Neuro and biotechnologies moving us toward a state resembling cyborgs.
Driven by the goal of singularity.
Technological singularity, yeah. The merging of humanity and superintelligence into a single network following an intellectual explosion?
The troubling aspect, as the report points out,
Is that this approach often disregards the value of cultural diversity, traditions, morality, ethics, themes that are central to contemporary society in many parts of the world. It's a very specific, maybe culturally biased vision of the future.
and that leads directly into AI as a new instrument of political influence.
Mm-hmm.
The report mentions the RAND Corporation.
Right. Rand proposes replacing the traditional strategy of realpolitik, which relies on hard power, military strength, state-centric hierarchy, with a strategy called neopolitik.
New politic. What's the core idea?
Think of it as moving from chess, which is about physical control of territory, to a global game of network reputation management. New Politic focuses on networks over hierarchies.
So influence over force.
Kind of. The core idea is that the deciding factor in future mental wars will be whose story wins. And the key actors are shifting away from nation-states toward what they call new spheric institutions, NGOs, international non-governmental organizations, influential networks.
So hard power still exists, but the strategic priority shifts to controlling the information domain, the narrative space.
Exactly. Rand suggests creating international special media forces to promote democracy abroad. This transition assumes that high-level military programs like Compass.
What's Compass?
It's a program designed for analysis and influencing adversary behavior. The assumption is these military tools will be widely used in civilian spheres, promoting national narratives, testing population loyalty, shaping political debates.
This strategic competition inevitably results in the clear formation of technological ecosystems, doesn't it?
It does. The U.S. NSCAI report, for example, argued that Washington must unify its global military allies around shared AI standards, specifically to counter threats from China.
So it's not about universal openness. It's
It-
about forming blocks.
Absolutely. Blocks competing over resources, currency zones, critical infrastructure independence. It's techno-economic block warfare.
The report calls this Western stance specific openness. Can you unpack that?
Sure. While the U.S. and its partners promote global values rhetorically, they are determined not to allow competitors to technologically surpass them.
So openness for us, but not for you.
Basically, yeah. This is evidenced by sanctions against the high-tech sectors of rivals like Russia and China. The report even mentions the CIA using Telegram.
Telegram.
Yeah, using a specific video post on Telegram to reach Russian citizens safely via the darknet, apparently generating 2.5 million views in the first week. It's direct information warfare using these platforms.
This creates a crucial trilemma then for sovereign states not fully aligned with the Western bloc.
Exactly. Option 1, continue using Western products but risk a sudden service cutoff if relations sour. Very risky.
Option 2.
Join China's isolated ecosystem, exemplified by its Golden Shield internet filtering system. Become part of their walled garden. Option 3. Attempt the immensely costly, difficult path of creating their own technological ecosystem, attracting maybe post-Soviet republics, third-world partners, perhaps even wary EU states looking for alternatives.
The core challenge is balancing digital openness with protecting digital sovereignty.
Precisely. You need access to global innovation, but you can't afford to be completely dependent or vulnerable. It's a tough balancing act.
We see this tension mirrored in digital finance, too. Central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, they're being developed everywhere.
Almost everywhere. About 120 nations are working on them, and they represent potentially the ultimate tool for state control.
How so? Ultimate control.
Think about it. With a CBDC, the central bank could instantly block accounts. They could limit available purchases to specific goods or services. They could apply hundreds of parameters to how you use your money in real time.
Wow. Toward financial surveillance.
And control, a degree never before imagined.
But there's the counter trend. Crypto, other digital financial assets.
Right. They promote mobility, easier cross-jurisdictional transfer. They challenge the state's exclusive right to monetary emission. It's a fundamental battle, total state control versus decentralized mobility.
And the U.S. seems keen on influencing the crypto space.
It's noteworthy, as the source points out, that the U.S. has shown a keen interest in dominating online crypto exchanges, ensuring leading platforms remain American companies, maybe exerting influence that way. The FTX collapse fallout kind of highlighted some of that.
Finally, in this section, the report talks about digital mobility.
Yeah. As users participate more and more in cross-border virtual communities, often aided by real-time AI translation, they risk becoming, as the report puts it, foreigners in their own country.
How does that happen?
National traditions, local cultures, they get slowly replaced by a kind of globalized multiculturalism, often dominated by the English language and specific corporate media content. The report mentions Disney replacing national cartoons as an example.
And this digital mobility, combined with huge corporate ecosystems replacing national services.
It ultimately forms a digital state within a state. This structure erodes national borders and allows these big digital network operators to wield powerful ideological weaponry. They can subtly displace moral and value orientations even without an overt, malicious government attack. It's influence by default.
Okay, now shifting gears significantly. Section 3, the influence of AI on state military power. Here's where it gets really interesting, moving from society to the battlefield.
Definitely. The geopolitical rivalry we just described is clearly pushing the world toward these two main technological ecosystems, American and Chinese. The competition is now centered on platforms, standards, space orbits, radio frequencies, big data, intellectual property, the whole digital stack.
And this shift accelerates military modernization via something called the multiplier effect.
Right. New technologies enable the creation of these one-stop-shop network-centric systems. They seamlessly integrate military and civilian assets, space, communications, intelligence, robotics, serving everyone from the general down to the frontline soldier.
We saw this in Ukraine.
The Ukraine conflict really demonstrated this integration. It showcased how a sophisticated AI-managed conflict could be waged with surprisingly minimal human intervention in certain loops.
That real-world demonstration has fueled an intense new arms race, hasn't it? Massive investment shifts.
Huge shifts. For instance, U.S. military R&D funding jumped 24% between 2012 and 2021. Meanwhile, procurement, just buying traditional hardware like tanks and planes, actually fell 6.4%.
So the priority is clearly future tech.
Absolutely. AI, hypersonic weapons, quantum computing, that's where the big money and focus is going.
And the future of war itself is expected to be dominated by unmanned systems.
Across all domains, yes. Land, sea, air, underwater. The technological trajectory logically leads to combat robots making fully autonomous attack decisions.
Which is ethically terrifying for many people.
Immensely concerning, yes, globally. And if you add quantum computing to these AI-enabled robotic systems, that could grant a decisive, possibly unanswerable advantage.
This creates a severe security dilemma, then, for countries lagging behind technologically.
It does. If you can't compete in the high-tech AI domain, you might feel forced to rely on what the report calls anti-humanitarian destruction for security, meaning nuclear weapons, anti-satellite weapons, maybe biological weapons. Asymmetrical counters because you can't match the conventional AI-driven force.
Modern conflicts teach us some critical, fast-moving lessons, according to the report. What are they?
4 key ones. First, transparency is unprecedented. Staging a surprise attack is nearly impossible now. Why? Because of online monitoring from space, pervasive electronic surveillance, and literally thousands of drones constantly observing the battlefield.
Nowhere to hide. Second,
Information warfare has scaled dramatically. Social media isn't just adjacent to conflict, it is a central battleground. Controlling the narrative is critical.
third lesson.
Third, efficiency. Network integration of intelligence, communications, and targeting drastically boosts unit effectiveness. AI-assisted targeting. This is stunning. It reduces the kill chain for high-value targets from maybe 20 minutes down to just 20 seconds.
20 seconds. Wow.
Yeah. And finally, the most chilling lesson, maybe. Force multiplication.
Tell me about that.
U.S. Army war games demonstrated that the combat power of a single infantry platoon, when enhanced with AI capabilities, increased tenfold.
Tenfold.
10 times more effective. This is a staggering figure. It potentially negates the old military formula requiring the attacking side to have a 3-to-1 force advantage over the defender. AI is fundamentally rewriting the rules of conventional combat geometry.
I want to circle back to the AI and the nuclear analogy. The report highlights a crucial distinction here. Experts equate AI's disruptive potential with nuclear weapons, but
the analogy breaks down very quickly.
yeah.
Yes, both grant massive global influence, massive disruptive potential,
Right.
but nuclear weapons are constrained by decades of regulatory frameworks, treaties, and a powerful, unwritten political taboo. They haven't been used in anger since World War II. Military AI, conversely, lacks these political or ethical constraints. It is actively being used right now in conflicts of varying intensities. Its development is accelerating without the kinds of safeguards we painstakingly built around the atom bomb. That's the danger.
And to compound this risk, the report mentions the militarization of space.
Yes. Experts believe that if space assets are fully weaponized, a conflict involving them could potentially conclude in a matter of a single day. Given the speed and the systemic dependence we now have on orbital assets for communication, navigation, intelligence, a space war could be devastatingly fast.
Okay, let's shift away from the battlefield now and look at the negotiation table. Section 4. Implementing AI in diplomatic activity. How is AI changing the diplomatic corps?
Well, AI can significantly expand the cognitive capacity, the efficiency, and the speed of diplomatic work. It helps move diplomacy beyond the limitations of human attention spans and our ability to process vast amounts of data.
Are there concrete examples?
Sure. The report mentions Russia's Ministry of Foreign Affairs using AI systems for routine visa screening. China utilizes AI for complex scenario planning, modeling geopolitical outcomes.
And Israel.
Israel launched a digital embassy in the metaverse back in 2022, using digital avatars to deliver messages in multiple languages simultaneously, testing the waters of virtual diplomacy.
The U.S. State Department is on this path, too.
Very much so. They published their first enterprise artificial intelligence strategy. The goal is to use responsible AI to achieve breakthroughs in public diplomacy, real-time language translation, automating routine tasks, even code generation for internal tools.
Chatham House identified 3 critical categories for AI use in international policy. What are they?
The first is analytics. AI surpasses human analysts in monitoring and verifying just vast data sets. Think nuclear treaty compliance verification or tracking complex global trade controls in real time.
And generative AI.
Generative AI is now tracking subtle shifts in policy priorities and public opinion across dozens of countries faster than any human team possibly could. It's like having a global listening post.
Okay, analytics is one. What's the second category?
The second is forecasting and negotiation. AI can model complex negotiations, interpret intricate legal documents, and even predict opponents' tactics or likely positions by rapidly comparing massive amounts of historical negotiation data.
Is there an example of that?
Yeah, the report mentions IBM's Cognitive Trade Advisor, or CTA. It can solve really complex rules of origin questions in trade negotiations, something that might take experienced human trade teams weeks to figure out. The AI handles almost instantly.
It's a significant advantage. And the third category?
The third is operational functions. This covers autonomous systems, robotics, logistics improvements, things that improve trade efficiency and generally smooth the infrastructure of international relations.
Researchers like Kay Biola argue AI will serve as more than just a tool, right? Like a cognitive assistant.
Exactly, a profound political decision-making aid. Not just an assistant performing specific tasks, but also potentially a critic reviewing human work for accuracy, or a second opinion source compared against human judgment.
Or even a consultant.
Or even a consultant offering strategic advice based on loaded, highly contextualized information drawn from immense databases.
Can you give a scenario of how that might work?
Sure. Imagine an AI system providing real-time, maybe whispered advice through an earpiece to a diplomat during a heated UN committee meeting.
Yeah.
The system draws on the exact context of the current discussion, pulls up historical meeting transcripts instantly, analyzes the body language of others perhaps, and predicts the likely next 3 strategies of the participants across the table.
That completely changes the game of real-time diplomacy.
Utterly.
But these benefits, they carry commensurate risks. The first one mentioned is prediction errors.
Right. AI forecasts are not infallible. They are statistical models, and mistakes can be fatal in high-stakes diplomatic negotiations. We know errors occur even in simpler closed systems.
Like the Tesla crash example.
Exactly, where the AI apparently confused the glare of an oncoming truck with the sky. These risks are amplified exponentially in the complexity of multilateral diplomatic negotiations with incomplete information and hidden agendas.
Then there is the threat of hidden malice. What does that mean?
It means if malicious actors can subtly adjust the core goals or training data of an AI system during its development, or even later during its autonomous learning phase, the mechanism itself can become compromised, pushing biased or harmful outcomes without any obvious security breach. The AI could appear to be working normally, but be subtly steering things in a damaging direction.
And critically, the report flags ideological bias.
Yes. LLMs are overwhelmingly trained on Western datasets, primarily English-language internet content. This means they are inherently prone to ideological skewing.
So using them for politically sensitive analysis.
Can yield biased or skewed responses, reflecting the cultural and political leanings embedded in their training data. This underscores the urgency for independent nations to develop their own non-Western LLM tools for their diplomatic agencies, train on their own data and values.
But that raises a challenging question, doesn't it? If every major power develops its own LLM, specifically calibrated to its national ideology, say an American model, a Chinese model, a Russian model, aren't we just accelerating global information balkanization, making true diplomatic understanding harder, not easier?
That's the tension, isn't it? That's the core dilemma at the heart of technological sovereignty versus global integration.
So what's the report's take?
The document implies that the current lack of trust in Western-developed LLMs due to perceived bias makes this risk of fragmentation almost unavoidable. The argument seems to be that the bias is already baked in, so building independent national tools is seen as a necessary defensive measure, not an offensive one designed to fragment.
The alternative being?
Accepting a foreign corporate or state narrative embedded in the technology as objective fact, which few sovereign states are willing to do. Okay, building on that, let's look at the foundational security concern in this digital age, the psychological domain. The report talks about International Information Psychological Security, or IIPS.
IPS. What's the formal definition?
It's defined as the protection of international relations from destabilizing informational impacts generated by state or non-state actors. Essentially, it's about protecting the global mind, the collective consciousness, from systemic digital attack.
And the report breaks the malicious use of AI, MUAI, into 3 ascending levels of threat.
Yes. Level 1 involves interpretation distortion. This is described as the non-AI weapon. Here, the AI itself isn't the tool doing the harm directly. Instead, false narratives about AI's consequences are deliberately spread for political or financial gain.
Can you give examples?
Sure. Cynical overhyping of AI capabilities to create speculative profit, maybe pump up stock prices, or, conversely, highly targeted fear-mongering designed specifically to strategically slow down a rival nation's technological development by creating public resistance or regulatory hurdles.
Is there a specific case cited?
Yeah, the report points to George Soros's aggressive attack on China's AI development at the 2019 World Economic Forum. He framed China's AI efforts as a mortal danger to open societies. The report interprets this as a calculated narrative designed to undermine a strategic rival's efforts.
Okay, that's level 1. What's level 2?
Level 2 is MUAI with communication effect. This involves malicious acts that primarily target infrastructure but cause widespread public panic as a significant secondary effect. Think cyber attacks on critical infrastructure power grids, hospitals, or the rise of sophisticated virtual fraud significantly enhanced by AI.
How does AI enhance fraud?
AI significantly boosts the effectiveness of things like phishing attacks. It improves targeting by analyzing profiles, makes the scam message much more plausible and personalized, adds realistic urgency, uses deepfaked voice or video.
And scale is increasing.
Massively. The statistics cited are shocking. Something like 100,000 ChatGPT accounts were compromised and sold on the darknet fairly early on. Furthermore, sophisticated bot attacks saw a huge 48% increase in just Q2 of 2023. 9 out of 10 websites are apparently facing these automated intrusions regularly.
Okay, level 1 is distorting the narrative about AI. Level 2 is using AI for attacks that cause panic. What's level 3?
Level 3 is the most insidious. Targeted psychological harm. This is where AI is the weapon itself, designed specifically to directly control perception and consciousness.
How? What tools are used?
Manipulating the informational agenda through algorithmic ranking and de-ranking of content, deciding what you see first. Utilizing emotional AI to tailor messages that trigger specific feelings. Employing advanced chatbots as predictive weapons to steer conversations or spread rumors effectively.
Even innocent applications seem vulnerable here.
Absolutely. The sources point out that even things like religious chatbots, maybe trained on the Quran or Bible, can be exploited by malicious actors. They could spread false propaganda disguised as religious misguidance, or even incite ethnic conflicts if the underlying model is trained with biases or manipulated.
Like the GPT-3 example.
Exactly. GPT-3 was criticized back in 2021 for exhibiting Islamophobia in some outputs, showing how poor or biased data selection during training can inadvertently generate serious internal, ethnic, or social problems within society when deployed.
So the conclusion on IPS is?
It's pretty stark. The window of opportunity for this malicious use of AI in the psychological domain is expanding rapidly. This is driven by both the continuous refinement of the technology itself and the increasing demand from vested interests, states, corporations, extremist groups who seek competitive advantages amidst the current climate of global crisis and geopolitical rivalry.
Okay, let's unpack one of the most visible tools for this, deepfakes. Section 6 focuses on their malicious use and impact on political stability. They seem like a primary vector for instability today.
They really are. Imagine the creation of a high-quality deepfake video showing an authoritative figure, a president, a general, a religious leader making some incredibly inflammatory statement.
Like,
Say, a deepfake of a world leader announcing a provocative military move against a rival or desecrating a holy site. That could trigger swift, serious political or even military conflicts based solely on that fabricated visual evidence. People react to what they see.
and sometimes the mere suspicion that something might be a deepfake is enough to sow chaos, right? The Gabon example.
Exactly. The Gabon coup attempt in 2019. President Ali Bongo had been absent for months due to illness. A video of him addressing the nation appeared. Opponents immediately claimed it was a deepfake, even though it was later authenticated.
And they used that claim.
They cited the alleged deception, the deepfake, as the reason for their attempted coup. The seed of doubt itself became sufficient justification for insurrection in their eyes.
This capability, high-quality, low-cost generation leads directly to what the sources call the terrifying liar's dividend.
Yes. If you reach a point where you genuinely can't trust the video evidence of a president speaking or the audio evidence of a recorded phone call,
Then what?
then it fundamentally erodes public trust in all visual and audio testimony. It doesn't just make people doubt the fake stuff, it makes them doubt the real stuff too. This creates widespread social apathy, cynicism, even dangerous nihilism across society. If you can't believe anything, why engage?
And deepfakes are powerful tools in political warfare, used globally now.
Oh, yeah. We see examples ranging from widespread deepfake use in the rough and tumble of Indian political campaigns to the really shocking use of pornographic or scandalous deepfakes targeting female politicians specifically in places like Iraq and Brazil. It's a brutal weapon for reputation assassination.
But the use of deepfakes as campaign tools has moved beyond just attack ads. The South Korean example is fascinating and, frankly, alarming.
Right. The 2022 South Korean presidential campaign. The conservative candidate, Yoon Suk-yeol, used a wildly successful AI avatar called AI Yoon.
An AI version of himself.
Exactly. This digital twin used salty wit and humor, things the actual candidate wasn't really known for, to connect specifically with young online voters. It created a public image that was polished, relatable, maybe more appealing than the real candidate could manage consistently.
Which raises the alarming question.
Are television presidents being replaced by deepfake presidents? Candidates whose public persona is entirely constructed, optimized, and delivered by algorithms? Where does the real person end and the AI begin?
We also have to consider the applications for organized crime and terrorism.
Absolutely. The report mentions early legal action in China against individuals using LLMs bypassing firewalls to access things like ChatGPT, specifically to generate fake news for profit, fabricating things like a deadly train accident to manipulate local markets or sentiment.
And hacking voice assistants.
Yeah, researchers have shown that systems like Siri and Alexa can be hacked and redirected through simple, sometimes undetectable means, using hidden audio files embedded in other sounds or even focused laser light shown at the microphone.
To do what?
To potentially allow remote hackers to make unauthorized purchases, access private information, or even control physical security systems connected to the smart home.
And for terrorist organizations.
Deepfake technology offers them the ability to create digital immortal leaders. They can tailor the appearance, the language, the messaging of the synthetic leader to recruit highly specific target audiences globally without relying on a living, vulnerable human figurehead who could be captured or killed. It offers recruitment longevity and adaptability. Okay, moving on to large language models, LLMs themselves. Section 7. What's fascinating here, and a core argument in the report, is that the LLM race isn't just a commercial contest between tech giants like Google, OpenAI, Anthropic, etc.
Yeah.
The sources argue that the winner of this race, the entity that achieves dominant LLM capability, can radically shift the global economic balance of power. Why? By controlling the core information infrastructure of the world.
The potential for LLMs in international relations seems immense based on what we've discussed.
It is. They offer truly massive data processing capabilities, analyzing treaties, political speeches, global media flows in real time, enabling strategic forecasting, interpreting complex legal documents at a scale humans just can't match.
And they are powerful tools for subconscious manipulation.
Potentially, yes. They can analyze voice patterns, inferred emotions, sociocultural features from text and speech, creating incredibly detailed personality maps. This opens doors to highly targeted subconscious influence techniques.
They also serve a vital function in public diplomacy.
Yes, for rapidly developing counter-narratives, generating sophisticated responses to foreign propaganda or disinformation campaigns.
Gee.
However,
There's always a however.
they are inherently dual-use content generators. They dramatically lower the cost of creating highly realistic text, images, audio, video, thereby blurring that critical line between human-generated and AI-generated news, analysis, and disinformation. It becomes harder to tell what's real.
When we look at the LLM architectural risks, the report calls them black boxes. The safety concerns really multiply, don't they?
They do. The first major risk mentioned is simply unpredictability. LLMs are notoriously difficult to fully control or explain. They can contain subtle or overt biases inherited from their training data.
Like the legal advice example.
Right. One study cited showed a staggering 69-88% error rate when LLMs were asked for legal advice, and they are constantly vulnerable to jailbreaks, clever prompts that bypass their built-in ethical limitations and safeguards.
Then there are hallucinations.
Yes, a well-known issue. Models confidently invent sources, make up facts, provide wildly differing answers to the exact same query just minutes apart. They present non-factual information as if it were verifiable fact.
Compounding this is pseudocompetence.
Exactly. LLMs give very articulate, fluent, convincing-sounding answers even to incredibly complex questions. This fosters an undeserved presumption of factuality in users, especially users who lack the deep expertise needed to critically evaluate the output. It looks smart, so people assume it is smart and correct.
Furthermore, they're weak ethics.
This lowers the entry barrier for cybercriminals significantly. It's the dreaded script kiddie problem on steroids. LLMs can easily generate sophisticated phishing emails, toxic or harassing content, malicious code, malware, making it easier for less skilled actors to cause harm.
And because LLMs generate answers often without direct human intervention in the loop.
It creates a huge responsibility vacuum. If an LLM gives harmful advice or generates damaging disinformation, who is accountable? The developer who trained the model, the user who prompted it, the model itself somehow. It's legally and ethically murky.
These technical vulnerabilities translate directly into immense geopolitical consequences, the first being the concentration of power.
Right. Sudden breakthroughs, like the emergence of powerful foundation models from OpenAI or Google, enable rapid market domination. This limits access for smaller players, researchers, and can be used to actively block unwanted users.
Like OpenAI blocking access for Russian citizens.
That's the example given, yes. Access becomes a tool of geopolitical leverage.
This directly undermines sovereignty, doesn't it?
It does. Transnational corporations, TNCs, gain the power to decide crucial state-level matters: who gets access to the most advanced computational resources,
Right.
who controls the flow of information via mobile internet or cloud services.
And their executives gain influence.
Executives like Sam Altman, Elon Musk, Sundar Pichai, they wield significant global political influence now, actively competing with or shaping the policies of nation-states.
We also face growing digital inequality.
Yes. Less advanced countries, or those cut off from leading models, may be forced to rely on backward or less powerful algorithms, widening the global digital divide. Meanwhile, advanced states can use LLM access restrictions as a tool to contain rivals.
Finally, LLMs are the ultimate information warfare engine.
They are perfectly suited for driving mass disinformation campaigns at scale, threatening public trust in official news sources, institutions, even science, and pushing populations toward rumors, conspiracy theories, and alternative sources found online.
So what does this all mean for national strategy? This race leads directly, inevitably, to the question of national control, of technological sovereignty. Section 8 digs into this.
Right. And the report highlights this imperative, citing Russian President Putin's emphasis in 2024 that Russia's national strategy must ensure technological sovereignty in these revolutionary areas, specifically generative AI and large language models. It's seen as a national security priority.
This goal immediately raises security concerns regarding information openness, doesn't it?
It does. The report notes that Russia, for example, is currently a major source of big data, user data from social networks, search engines, etc., for foreign corporations, effectively exporting its internal information assets.
And Western tech dominance.
Western technological dominance within the Russian internet space, search, video, social media to some extent, is viewed in the report as a direct destabilizing factor, especially during periods of geopolitical confrontation. This perceived vulnerability necessitates emergency regulation to secure national interests from that perspective.
Russia does have some domestic assets, though.
Yes, the report acknowledges strong points. Historically strong engineering schools, widespread high-speed internet access, popular domestic social networks like vContact, and growing expertise in cybersecurity, partly driven by necessity.
But the challenges are steep.
Very steep. Severe financial constraints compared to the US and China. Western sanctions impacting access to critical hardware like advanced GPUs and software. An accelerated brain drain of tech talent, particularly since early 2022. Lagging efforts in setting global technological standards, like for 5G, and consequently an increasing reliance on China for critical hardware components.
The report really emphasizes the insurmountable problem seems to be the sheer financial chasm.
It does. The scale is just hard to comprehend. Russia's entire AI market was estimated at maybe $67 billion in 2022. Compare that to North America's estimated $167.3 billion in the same period.
And global investment.
Global investment in AI is rapidly approaching $1 trillion overall. Russia is currently not an LLM leader. The U.S. holds maybe 50% of the top models, China around 40%.
So the risk is becoming just a consumer.
Exactly. The risk, as framed in the sources, is that without massive state-led financial intervention, Russia risks becoming a permanent consumer of advanced foreign AI. Paying dearly to vendors, locking itself into technological subservience, dependent on systems potentially biased against its interests.
Wait, but if the market cap is that huge, hundreds of billions of dollars,
Yeah.
isn't the recommended solution international cooperation, say with BRICS nations, just wishful thinking? How can sharing some GPUs bridge a trillion-dollar investment gap against established market leaders?
That is the crucial strategic pushback the report addresses directly. It explicitly recognizes that matching the U.S. and Chinese investment dollar for dollar is impossible for any single non-aligned state, probably even for several combined.
So the strategy can't just be money.
Right. Therefore, the strategy has to be structural, not just financial. Cooperation, specifically framed around BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and now new members, is presented as essentially mandatory.
Mandatory for what?
To pool resources for shared massive infrastructure investment, most importantly, getting access to the thousands upon thousands of specialized GPUs needed to train these enormous models, and also to accelerate the rapid development of shared competencies, joint research, maybe even shared data pools required to compete with the market leaders on an international collective platform.
So it's about building an alternative architecture together.
Exactly. It's framed as the only plausible path to establish an alternative technological architecture, one not wholly dependent on or controlled by the U.S.-led or Chinese ecosystems. It's a bet on collective technological sovereignty. Okay. Section 9 focuses on the ultimate convergence, perhaps, AI operating within immersive metaverses.
Right, AI in the metaverse.
Yeah.
The market is soaring, projected to hit over $500 billion by 2030. This convergence looks set to define the next decade of digital life.
And the audience, the user base, is uniquely susceptible right now. The report states that currently, over 84% of active metaverse users are under 18 years old.
Under 18.
Wow.
Right.
Making them highly vulnerable to emotional, psychological influence, manipulation, and targeted messaging within these immersive environments. The convergence of powerful AI and deep immersion tech creates, frankly, existential challenges to security by potentially influencing mass consciousness at a highly impressionable age.
And the very nature of these new spaces, complex, decentralized.
Merging virtual and physical realities into what the report calls hybrid reality. This decentralization, while maybe appealing for user freedom, makes comprehensive control almost impossible. It risks turning parts of the metaverse into a global Wild West environment where malicious actors can operate freely, beyond easy reach of law enforcement or regulation.
The report identifies 4 distinct classes of malicious actors exploiting MUAI malicious use of AI, specifically in the metaverse. Who are they?
First, the usual suspects hackers and criminals, using the immersive environment for sophisticated social engineering, leading to fraud, theft of virtual assets, crypto, digital objects which have real value, identity theft.
Second,
Second, terrorists and destructive movements, using immersive spaces for recruitment, for spreading extremist ideologies in compelling ways, for virtual training, and for forming decentralized global networks, meta-sections, as the report calls them.
third class of actor.
Third, corporations, using new forms of highly personalized, micro-targeted advertising and psychological influence for unfair competition, or manipulating user behavior for profit in ways that cross ethical lines.
And fourth, the most dangerous.
Fourth, and potentially most dangerous due to resources, states and reactionary regimes. Possessing the professional capabilities, funding, and personnel for long-term, large-scale psychological operations targeting mass consciousness globally, aimed at undermining rivals or promoting their own ideology within these persuasive virtual worlds.
This feeds the frightening concept of AI as a predictive cognitive weapon within the metaverse.
Exactly. AI can globally observe digital communities inside these platforms, analyze behavioral patterns in minute detail, and create a precise cognitive psychomap of target groups or even individuals.
And this data is used.
Not just for forecasting, but to actively model and then adjust negative scenarios or public sentiment through highly targeted psychological warfare campaigns delivered via the immersive experience itself. Tailored realities to shape minds.
Machine learning algorithms allow this targeted propaganda to scale.
Exponentially. In these metaspaces, ensuring a much greater, more visceral psychological impact than traditional media, TV, print, even standard social media could ever achieve. Immersion amplifies influence.
And the core features of metaverses: decentralization, anonymity.
They create the ultimate attribution problem. When an attack occurs or when a sophisticated disinformation campaign is deployed within the metaverse, it is extremely difficult, maybe sometimes impossible, to reliably identify the malicious actor responsible.
Which makes consequences difficult.
Makes retaliation, defense, sanctions, even legal action nearly unworkable. How do you punish an anonymous avatar controlled by an unknown entity in a different jurisdiction operating on a decentralized platform? It's a massive challenge for international law and security.
Okay, we've reached the final section, Chapter 10, Looking to the Future, AI Development Prospects and the Challenges for International Security. We conclude our deep dive here looking at the horizon.
Right. And there are optimistic forecasts mentioned. Experts anticipate significant progress thanks to AI in areas like ecological sustainability, finding climate solutions, developing personalized medicine, creating advanced adaptive education systems, and achieving vast improvements in governance efficiency.
So there are potential upsides.
Definitely. However, these potential benefits are significantly overshadowed, the report argues, by the looming crisis landscape. This instability is fueled by several factors simultaneously.
Like what?
The blistering pace of AI development itself, the increasing accessibility of powerful AI tools to a wide user base, including bad actors, the heightened geopolitical rivalry driving weaponization, and the corresponding global surge and sophisticated cybercrime leveraging these tools.
This intense societal change has the potential for a massive social backlash, doesn't it?
It does. The report suggests we could see widespread public panic, new tech-driven phobias, and the rise of radical movements on both sides.
Both sides.
Yeah, split between those almost deifying superintelligence, pro-AI movements, maybe even new religions, as discussed earlier, and others embracing potentially violent anti-AI sentiment, the neo-Luddites smashing the machines, basically.
One of the most critical medium-term threats identified is the unemployment time bomb.
Yes. While the report suggests short-term job loss risks from current AI might be relatively low and manageable, the mass replacement of human labor by more advanced, cheaper, more capable AI in the medium term is seen as almost inevitable across many sectors.
And if governments fail to manage this transition?
With comprehensive retraining programs, universal basic income discussions, new job creation strategies, it could trigger unprecedented global social and political instability. Mass unemployment has historically been a major driver of unrest.
Here's where it gets really interesting and scary on the immediate security front. autonomous hacking.
Yeah, this is a very recent development highlighted. Research from the University of Illinois in 2024 demonstrated something quite alarming.
What did they find?
They found that large closed-source LLMs, specifically mentioning GPT-4, could autonomously hack 73.3% of the test websites they were pointed at, without being given any prior knowledge of the specific vulnerabilities on those sites. They found the holes themselves.
Three-quarters of websites hacked autonomously.
By the AI itself, yes. As these models grow exponentially more powerful, the sources warn that a massive systemic cybersecurity crisis is not just likely, it might be imminent. Imagine AI agents constantly probing every connected system for weaknesses.
We also see the accelerating race for humanoid robots.
Right. China announced plans for mass production by 2025. The competition is fierce, involving the US, Tesla's Optimus, Saudi Arabia investing heavily, India joining the race.
And the risk here.
The immediate risk highlighted is the potential terrorist use of advanced agile humanoids for physical harm against people and critical infrastructure, moving the threat from the purely digital domain back into the physical world in a new, dangerous way.
Finally, the concentration of power remains a central global risk. It was even a major concern at the WEF in 2024.
Yes. The excessive control over these incredibly powerful AI systems by just a few largely unelected North American TNCs is seen by many, including the report's authors, as posing a greater and perhaps more pervasive global risk than power concentrated solely in governments.
Why greater?
Because their reach is transnational, their accountability structures are different, and generative AI fundamentally increases the influence of these corporations and their founders, often operating outside traditional democratic checks and balances.
What about the AGI timeline? When might we see machines exceed human capabilities?
Well, forecasts are often speculative, partly driven by hype and investment needs. We should acknowledge that. But the consensus among nearly 3,000 leading AI researchers surveyed in 2024 suggests a significant acceleration in expectations.
What are the numbers?
They forecast, on average, a 10% chance of machines broadly exceeding human capabilities by 2027, that's incredibly soon, and a 50% median chance by 2047. This is a much faster clock than most political institutions or societies are currently prepared for.
This intense pressure, this accelerating clock, demands a necessary synthesis, according to the report's final policy direction.
Yes. This involves emphasizing the development of safe, transparent, explainable AI systems. But critically, it also mandates the deep integration of humanitarian and technical specialists.
Why is that integration so crucial?
Because technical expertise alone, just knowing how to build the AI, is simply not enough. It's insufficient to navigate these profound ethical, societal, geopolitical, and even existential challenges. You need philosophers, ethicists, sociologists, diplomats, historians working alongside the engineers from the very beginning.
We have covered immense ground today, moving from those foundational concepts of hyperconnectivity and the potential sacrifice of digital sovereignty, all the way to the tenfold force multiplication effect AI offers military units, the deeply unsettling risk of deepfake presidents, and that stunning near-term threat of LLMs autonomously hacking three-quarters of websites. These aren't distant sci-fi scenarios anymore. These are current realities driving global strategy today.
Absolutely. And the convergence you see throughout this report, the convergence of blindingly fast technical progress and massive financial disparity between nations, it's dramatically accelerating the geopolitical clock. Now, if technological sovereignty truly hinges almost entirely on having massive investment capital and achieving an incredible speed, what then is the viable role left for international cooperation, specifically for frameworks like BRICS? Can they genuinely create an alternative, perhaps more ethically responsible technological system before the current digital oligopoly, controlled by that handful of unelected TNCs, becomes fully and perhaps irreversibly entrenched? Is there still time to build a different path?
That's the crucial question, isn't it? And that's the question we leave you, the listener, with today. Consider the implications of this new global reality, as outlined in this report, on your own national identity, your personal digital life, and the future shape of global power.